Blues openers Richards and Davidson made a cautious start this morning, adding just 26 in the first hour. But the break for drinks didn't agree with the left-hander. Richards' determined knock of 29 then came to an unlucky end at the hands of part-timer Jimmy Adams. Two for 47 and former Test player Michael Bevan refused to let the situation hinder his approach. But right on lunch, another setback. Kevin Roberts playing on, leaving the home side at 3 for 65. Richard Cheekwee joined Bevan, who began playing a more supportive role as Cheekwee took on the West Indies. He was strong off both the front and back foot, bringing up his half-century off just 88 balls. The subdued Bevan at times tried to keep pace with his flamboyant partner. The left-hander bringing up his 50 just before tea, the pair putting on 99 in the session. The West Indies attack blunted, the pair continued untroubled after the break, Cheekwee bringing up a faultless maiden first-class ton half an hour before stumps. It was a moment Bevan was denied, Walsh rattling his furniture with the new ball. The Tourist captain achieved the double breakthrough moments later, Cheekwee's 105 giving the Blues a chance to build a substantial first innings lead.
Tourism has been one of the few job growth centres in the Hunter, as the region tries to reduce its reliance on heavy industry. But with unemployment at 11.2%, there are still plenty of people that have failed to get a ride on the tourism gravy train. That could change through a joint project launched today by the Department of Employment, Education and Training, the Hunter Region Tourist Organisation and tourist operators.
We want to create new jobs for this region and this program.
The new jobs will be created by attracting more tourists to the region, especially international visitors in the lead-up and during the Olympics.
It takes about 177 domestic visitors to create one full-time job, whereas it only takes about 18 international visitors to create one full-time job.
A report on the feasibility of increasing tourist numbers and jobs will be released in February. The government says if tourist operators get behind the scheme, it could create thousands of jobs, helping to justify the multi-million-dollar budget needed to fund the training programs. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
"320 athletes turned the Bay's marina into a wash pool as they began the Olympic course with a 1.5-kilometre swim. The field's 4 divisions began at separate intervals, starting with the women's, allowing Randwick's Belinda Smith to lead out of the water. She had a substantial break going into the 40k cycle, which was slowed by the wet and slippery conditions. The men's was a tighter race, with Randwick's Adam Radford setting up his victory on the bike leg. He led into the last transition and over the final 10-kilometre leg, crossing a line in 1 hour and 57 minutes. Weavers was 1 minute 50 behind in second and Randwick's Justin Granger third. Smith was a decisive winner in the women's, finishing 8 minutes ahead of her nearest rival in 2 hours and 13 minutes. Jennifer Park was second and Sanderson third. After winning the Australian Schools Championship at the same venue last week, Burrows again proved superior in today's National Youth Final. Up against Trent Munro, Robbie Johnson and Troy Brooks, the West Aussie made the most of the light conditions, while Queensland's Dean Morrison won the 16s and the outstanding male title. All boys finalists qualified for the Junior Worlds in Bali next June, as did Newcastle's Tani Horridon. She finished fourth in the girls' under-18s. 15-year-old Crescent Head surfer Samantha Cornish won the division. In surf lifesaving, Swansea Belmont has taken out today's Stella Kappa Carnival ahead of the host club Redhead with Nobby's third. Anna Batterham and Josh Blair led the way for the victors, while Dixon Park took out the handicapped event. And in baseball, heavy rain marred the doubleheader between the Hunter Eagles and Adelaide at Maitland. Following Adelaide's victory in Game 1 yesterday, Game 2 only got as far as the third inning before play was abandoned. Only rain was going to save the West Indies, and for most of the day it kept the players off the field. The tourist captain, Richie Richardson, was content to field autographs, with the Blues only needing 90 for victory. His manager, the great Wes Hall, summing up the feeling.
We didn't play very well, I must admit, and the fact that the rain has come is not justice at all. I think that New South Wales is very unfortunate.
But the rain finally gave way, allowing play to start at 2:30, with opener Corey Richards keen to put the Windies away. Davidson displayed the same urgency before his partner picked out Harper in the outfield. Bevan also fell chasing quick runs before another storm hit the ground, with the Blues just 21 from victory at 2 for 69.
More and more Australians are relying on government financial assistance, with a staggering $11,000 million being spent on family support last financial year. The Department of Social Security has 18 offices in the Hunter, with the new complex at Charlestown catering for an area which has become a bustling regional centre.
We still have a high unemployment population in the area, but that's the same throughout Newcastle at this stage. Hopefully that will diminish over the coming months. Also, our families' population is starting to increase.
The premises house the regional and area offices and boast a spacious consultating area which will offer privacy for clients.
We have over 32 interviewing bays there where they can have private interview with our staff who will help them out.
Mr Scott says the large number of people receiving benefits is good news for the local business community.
Over a 12-month period, you're looking at $236 million just in the regional area of Charlestown, and that's a lot of injection of money that probably a lot of people don't realise.
The latest figures for Hunter unemployment have come as a pleasant surprise, according to economist Robin McDonald with the Hunter Valley Research Foundation.
In the Hunter, there are about 217,000 people working. That compares with about 201,000 people a year ago. It's quite a high level of employment.
She says the figures from the Australian Bureau of Statistics reflect the seasonal increased demand for workers in the retail industry. With Christmas shopping at its peak during November-December, the casual employment rate soars and usually extends through January for the post-Christmas sales.
Retailers in particular have been predicting a very good Christmas season, and I think these figures are probably consistent with those predictions in that retailers in particular are putting on more staff to cope with the extra demand.
But in the long term, Ms McDonald says job hunters in the region need to rethink career options, pursue tertiary education and steer away from the traditional industry sector.
Now in the Hunter, just like in the nation as a whole, growth is occurring in the tertiary sector, in the service sector, particularly in high-tech industries. And we need to be able to train our labour force and also make our labour force understand that they need to be trained in these areas.
At his peak, Sargent swatted Broncos like blowflies and steamrolled the Raiders to win the Knights a berth in the 93 semis. But he hasn't played a game for 6 months after doctors had to reconstruct his left knee. He jokes that he gave his right leg to Canterbury and his left to the Knights. But he's serious about his 31-year-old body being able to handle another year.
It's been a long time out. I played my last game at the end of June, and I think the break has sort of refreshed me a little bit, both mentally and physically.
He says he has no regrets switching to Super League, despite the Mariners still not assured of a competition or a ground next year. And at least he doesn't have to face his old club.
The old head-to-head would be interesting, but no, that won't be happening. Obviously, we'll both be representing the region in separate competitions, of course, dependent upon what happens in the federal court.
To tennis, and Jason Stoltenberg will be fighting to regain a singles berth in the Davis Cup squad when contenders play off in Newcastle in February. The local player will have to use the home court advantage to its full potential at Newcastle's Entertainment Centre after a string of injury setbacks. Tickets for the Davis Cup Showdown have just gone on sale. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
For Reg Lindsay, this ride in the rescue helicopter was just another step in a long, courageous battle. In January, Reg collapsed from a brain hemorrhage while performing at Tamworth's Country Music Festival. His condition was listed as critical for days, but 11 months on, and this king of country music is proving he can't be kept down. It wasn't Pitt Street, but the launch of the 1996 Country Music Festival at Sydney's Victoria Barracks, and what a welcome they received. Also at the launch, Felicity Urquhart, Gina Jeffries and Lee Kernaghan. The Country Music Festival will kick off in Tamworth in January. Disabled children at the Hunter Orthopaedic School at Waratah need not be landlubbers any longer. Crew members from HMAS Newcastle ensured them of an aquatic summer by donating a special hoist, allowing the children to be gently lowered into their new pool. And the $17,000 gift meant far more to the water babies than just a dip on a hot day. For many, their bones are so brittle that movement is virtually impossible on dry land.
Matthew, when he's on land, he doesn't have a lot of movement, do you, Matthew? No, but once he's in the water, what can you do in the water?
Lots of things.
He can do lots of things in the water. He can swim and he can kick his legs around.
But the children themselves weren't the only ones to take advantage of the new joyride. Sailors weren't above asking for a spin.
It's really good, yeah. It helps the kids get in and out of the water and they can lift my weight, so it's pretty strong. So.
The pool hoist wasn't the only gift. Santa shared presents and a few laughs.
What do you call a smelly Santa?
What do you call a smelly Santa? Oh, I'm not sure. What do you call a smelly Santa?
Father Christmas.
Laura Saperstein, NBN News. From something like this to this, and it's all from the self-initiated slog and toil of students. With the support of 2 teachers, a group of students started out in their lunchtimes, transforming a barren schoolyard into a nature reserve.
It's just a dirt bomb before, now it looks heaps better.
Yeah, because before it just didn't look very good.
As the beautification spread, so did the interest in the project until the school decided to let any interested students take on the job full-time in their last few weeks of school. A normally quiet time with low attendance was transformed into a hive of activity. 60 volunteers have hoed, weeded and paved their way around the schoolyard over the past few weeks.
I'm absolutely thrilled because they've been out here working in the rain, they've been out here working in the sun, there's been sweat just running down their faces and even in their lunch hours, and that's the real test.
So impressed were those who heard of the project that donations of soil and plants have poured in. On their last day on the job, students were able to retire for the holidays, secure in the knowledge they'll return to a far more welcoming environment next year. Laura Saperstein, NBN News.
The announcement came as a huge boost for local celebrations. $25,000 from Australian Business Limited, formerly the Chamber of Manufacturers, to get Newcastle's Australia Day up and running.
We thought that this was a wonderful way in which our organisation can support the community and celebrate the most wonderful thing, and that is being Australian.
There'll be the usual naturalisation ceremonies and then one big party in King Edward Park with James Blundell and Gina Jeffries. The Australia Day Council is calling on everyone, whatever their country of birth, to join in the party.
And to celebrate the fact that we're all part of this wonderful nation, Australia.
The Year 11 Glendale High School student has just finished his exams, but he'll face just as tough a test at Breakers Stadium tomorrow night.
Ability-wise, he's got more than enough to cope with it. It's how we'll deal with a good crowd tomorrow night, which we're hoping will turn up. And playing against probably two of the toughest strikers in the league, in Andy Harper and Francis Waratifi.
But the 16-year-old defender's tour with the Australian Joey's under-17 squad should help him to handle the big game nerves.
It was a good experience. We had 2 tours over to South America, and on the first tour we played in front of about 35,000 people, so that was a great experience. Yeah.
His rise to the top has been helped by a long list of injuries and the suspension of 2 players. But coach John Cosmina says it's a deliberate policy to blood young locals in the National League.
Yeah, we want to push the kids through. I mean, I think at 17, 18, 19, you should be knocking on the door of first grade, and certainly by 20, you should almost have established yourself as a regular first grade player.
The carnival began with the board rescue relay in perfect conditions. The Sydney Slammers taking first points while the Gold Coast proved superior in the IRB rescue. National champion Kip McFarlane gave the Sydney Thunder its first victory in the beach sprint, while homegrown Tasmanian veteran Lynn St John got the decision in the women's. Denby Holmes and Brad Stokes survived frantic finishes in their respective surf team races, while the sport's latest sensation, Queensland's Linda Halfwig, prevented a local victory in the women's board. The ski provided plenty of drama, while a poor exit cost the Gold Coast victory in the surf boats. Peter Roberts muscled his way to a win in the men's flags, while the women's was a Slammers victory to Beth Rodham. In the women's Ironman, the surf once again played a decisive role. Tassie Karen Hardy breaking away with Erin Dixon, Hardy prevailing in a sprint finish. In the men's Ironman, a similar wave gave Dean Mercer and Kate Husner a winning break. Husner taking the race when his Sydney Thunder teammate slipped off his ski. The 1-2 securing Thunder's victory. Both sides had few opportunities in a tentative first half, the young, inexperienced breakers matching it with Marconi for the first 45 minutes. After Denmanier's tangle with Lowe on the edge of the box, which went unchecked, it was all Marconi. Waratifi began to find more space up front, while Socceroo Dominic Longo won an aerial battle to post the visitors first. Moments later, Marconi almost posted another in similar circumstances. The points were secured in the 61st minute with Van Egmont's cross finding the ever-present Harper, who gave Carter no chance. And another Sydney team was creating problems for the locals at Maitland this afternoon. The Blues were 9-3 ahead with the fifth inning complete in Game 1 against the Hunter Eagles when a wild storm halted play. The 5-year-old's third win in 4 starts and paid $6.20 and $2.40. Yobro returned $4.90 and night after $2.30. Earlier in the day, there was a Newcastle victory in the Christmas Stakes over 1,500 metres. Ridden by Darren Beedman and trained by PJ Anderson at Broadmeadow, the 6-year-old returned $8.40 and $2.30 over the top, and Caramel Sunday filling the minors.
Wall's End man Bernard Murphy suffered burns to 90% of his body after a dropped cigarette set this house alight. He's still in a critical condition in the burns unit of Sydney's Royal North Shore Hospital. It follows a month of fatal house fires, with 12 people killed in Sydney since the middle of last month. The fire brigade says more lives will be lost if extra precautions aren't taken over the Christmas break.
One of the things we find is that with partying and that, people consume a lot more alcohol, and that leads them into dangerous situations with things like smoking and especially cooking. Cooking the turkeys, you leave it in the oven for a few hours, you forget about it, next thing you've got a kitchen fire.
There are also concerns about the safety of Christmas decorations, with people being urged to be careful with candles and to check Christmas lights.
Christmas tree lights can be a bit of a concern, especially if the wiring's faulty and that. And with the nature of the tree, whether it's a plastic one or a natural one, they're quite prone to catching a light.
But fire prevention is a year-round concern, with people being encouraged to make a long-term investment in their safety this Christmas.
If anybody has a last-minute gift suggestion, one thing to do is invest in a smoke detector. Get one for a friend or family.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
An entertainer who's brought joy to countless thousands of people over the years has been given an official round of applause by the state government. Beryl Boardman-Jones has performed in the Newcastle area for more than 60 years, from fundraisers for soldiers in the Second World War to concerts for senior citizens. Today, that selfless effort was rewarded, with local member Richard Face presenting Mrs Boardman-Jones with the Premier's Award for Community Service. She played down her efforts, saying the response of appreciative audiences was ample reward.
McBurney came to Australia in 1984 and began training in Wyong 18 months later. The stable's biggest name quickly gaining him rightful recognition. His next major staying success has been the wily old grey Spiritual Star. It's chasing successive Sydney Summer Cup wins on Boxing Day, and a good performance could earn him a trip to New Zealand for the Wellington Cup. Not bad for a mudlark which has been plagued by injury.
I have to pick his runs a bit, and hopefully it's going to rain this week.
Like Spiritual Star, Praise Indeed has been nominated for the Sydney Cup, but will also take on its stablemate next Tuesday.
He is on the way up, this horse. He's only 5, and he is a horse that is very good. So hopefully he's the future star.
That made it 21 wins for the McBurney stable this season, and while Neville didn't witness it, son John was a capable deputy on Saturday and has his eye on Dad's job.
You putting a bit of heat on the old man?
Oh, not much yet. I will in years to come.